What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to Tour Life. We got Yuli, as always, and a familiar face if you tuned into the Disc Golf Network last week. We've got the 2023, fresh off his win at the Las Vegas Challenge. Back to back? Is that correct?
No, I won back in 2019.
Yuli, first question, already failed.
Close.
Just already butchered it.
We got his first ever Elite Series win was the Las Vegas Challenge, though. So
okay,
pretty awesome to be able to get it again.
We got a lot of good topics tonight. A lot of things dropping, happening. New updates from the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Obviously, a lot to get into with the Las Vegas Challenge. Not only with Calvin, but some other things that went down during the tournament. The European Open is now a qualifier. You have to qualify for it, which was news to me. We have more updates on the Natalie Ryan lawsuit. The Disc Golf Pro Tour's End of the Season Awards got a little bit of a fresh update as well. So lots of things to talk about. We're going to jump in first with Calvin. Calvin said he's going to stick around to talk about these other things, so I'm interested to kind of get his opinion as well. But I kind of want to just go through real quick the tournament because the first round was a weird one. Like, scores were not great. I think everyone going into that day knew the weather was really bad. And so if you could kind of just hang on, I think people looked back and saw, I think you shot, 3 under the first round?
Yep, I shot 3 under.
So I think people look back and are like, oh my gosh, Calvin was like way out of it. When in fact you probably just you're kind of in the mix. That was a tough day to go low. So did you feel like you kind of needed to really play out of your mind the last 3 rounds, or did you feel like you were kind of still in the running, I guess, after that first round?
Yeah, I don't think I felt out of it after the first round. Being a 4-round tournament, there's still a lot of golf left. I don't remember what the hot round was. Was it like 8 down?
I think it was 8. So,
yep.
So like there was like maybe 1-7 too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was only 5 back, so I definitely didn't feel out of it. Obviously, I would have liked to be closer. I knew I was gonna have to shoot good, but I don't think out of my mind is necessarily the thoughts that were going through my head. I just knew I was gonna have to play a decent bit of clean golf and probably be a little more aggressive in some situations than I wanted to be. But there was a lot of golf left at that point. I wasn't too necessarily focused on the end result. It's just keep playing. It's first tournament of the year. Everyone's going to have little hurdles to get over.
Well, and in your defense too, I teed off around the same time you did in the morning, and the conditions changed drastically towards the end. And at the end of the tournament, for those of you who don't really realize this, but there's always a lot of featured cars that go out at the very end of the day. And so if you get stuck in that kind of morning to midday, like lunchtime weather, I think the final featured cards got probably about 7 to 8 holes of like really good weather compared to what was going on earlier in the day. So you actually probably outperformed a lot of people in your flight anyways.
I was one of the last tee times, so I got lucky.
So you played just horrible. Wow.
I played bad.
Yuli, we're 0 for 2. We're 0 for 2. That's okay. We're going to bounce back.
I actually think I was on the last card of the day, first round. But
that'd be funny if I did commentary on you with Joe Miss.
No, you didn't. I think I was on the live card. Okay. But yeah, I started fine. I just had a rough section in the middle. I think I went double bogey on, what is it? It's like the par 4, hole 11 maybe. Par 4. It's like an easy par 4. Kevin eagled it round 3.
Oh, the one over the green?
Yeah. I took a 6 on that one.
Did you not clear the green?
I chucked it in the lake on the right.
That can happen as well.
And then I left myself with a not great, approach, and then I ran a putt, and then I missed a putt, and I tapped in a nice double. But I started off fine, then I had a rough stretch there. It was like, I think I went something like double bogey, then I parred the easy par 5, parred the next hole, then bogey the next hole. So Kind of got rid of my birdies, but I was able to get three of the last four, I think, that round to get back to 3 under. So I had a little momentum going into the second round, but I definitely knew I had a lot of things to work on. My putting wasn't very good that round. Honestly, I threw quite a few bad shots, so nothing was really clicking. But as I said, there was still a lot of the tournament left and time to fix things.
Did you guys like the change in having 2 courses instead of 3 this year?
Yeah, I personally liked it. I kind of feel like 3 courses to practice and learn in a span of basically 3 days is kind of overkill. It's not like I wouldn't expect everyone to go out there and kind of play amazing golf on every single course with as little practice as you're giving them. Um, I also wasn't really a huge fan of the infinite course. Normally, we'd go out there round one and there'd be multiple people going like 9 under through nine. So I don't think it's a very challenging course for our division at this point. So I think it's a good thing that we got rid of that course from the tournament.
What about the 3 round compared to the 4 round tournaments? Like this obviously starts off the year and then bam, 4 round tournament. And the rest of the year we don't have one of those till what, Ledgestone or Green Mountain. How do you feel about like 3 rounders compared to 4 round? Would you rather have
Is it really that long?
No, we got Champions Cup coming up in spring.
Well, majors are always going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as far
the
as
next
like,
Elite Series that is wow. Okay, yeah. I guess we don't have that many 4-round tournaments, really.
Yeah, I mean, we really don't. I definitely feel like if you play bad early, it definitely gives you a chance to make up ground. But that's also because we don't like cut our 4 round tournaments after 2 rounds, like you see in golf. So, I mean, personally, like I enjoy it because I feel like it's pretty hard for me to like miss a cut or anything with the extra rounds. I always feel like more time benefits me.
Yep.
So I like the longer tournaments, but yeah, I guess.
Would you rather have just like one course though?
Yeah, I think one course is probably ideal, but like I'm not opposed to like playing one course and then having like pin placements change.
Okay.
I don't think that's something we really see in our sport, and I think it's something that there are places I think we could do it. Like there are places where you could move a basket, 80 feet in a different direction and kind of really change the approach. I think change like I feel like putting for us is fairly simple in our sport, and like I think changing up, like we need to figure out a way to like change up our like making approaching the basket more difficult. And sometimes that may just be like changing it up, every other round rather than having the same shot every round and people are just getting super dialed in with a singular shot.
We'll get into obviously some of the theatrics and drama that ended up happening towards the end of the final round, but when you're talking about pin placements, the hole that jumps out to me right away is, on the final day, moving hole 17 at Innova up to like the old pin placement and maybe a little bit more left, like tucked a little bit more near the cart path. I think that would allow everyone to kind of get aggressive on that last hole and bring that OB into play on the tee shot and also putting. So I'm with you. I think the other thing too would be cool. I've always said if we could make bigger tee pads, you could essentially dictate what side of the tee pad you can throw from one day. And so that, if you think back to like Portland Open 2 years ago when they were when all of a sudden they were like, oh yeah, these tee pads aren't good, you guys can throw on the sides of the tee pad, how that opened up so many different lines and angles for us.
Yeah.
That makes me think like if you can utilize that with some of these holes. Now, obviously Vegas is a little bit different because it's so open, but some of these other courses, if you can only throw on the left side of the tee pad, it very well could force you to have to throw a completely different shot than on the right side of the tee pad. And so you're not necessarily changing the hole that much. You're just literally making the angle change, which forces you to have to throw a different shot. I'm all for that, especially when we are doing, 4 rounds or 3 rounds at one course, because I could see how it could kind of get a little monotonous, especially when we have 4 people on the card all throwing the same shot every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could see that working. I know Portland definitely, yeah, expanding the tee patch changed how that course played quite a bit. I played significantly easier in that case because you had the option of pretty much doing whatever you wanted and kind of eliminated some of the gap shots. But
Yep.
I could definitely see that being a way to force gap shots some rounds and then kind of allowing people to open up to the open airspace others. At some courses, I don't know if that would work everywhere, but some places
No.
it definitely would.
The other thing I would say about 2 courses, what do you guys? This tournament just like doesn't feel like it needs 2 courses because they're so similar. I like the 2 courses when it is like a Ledgestone or like a GC of where you get the, your Fox run, you're out in the open, lots of OB, placement shots, having to deal with the wind, and then you go into Brewster and you're playing against in the woods. Like I like when you have like those kind of contrasting courses. What is your guys' thoughts when it's 2 courses that are very similar to the point of where, if you just showed someone a clip, a fan of like, hey, look at this shot I had, they would not be able to tell you what course you were on.
Yeah, I mean, I think I do like the juxtaposition. I like the tournaments that have like the wooded course and the open course more than just 2 courses that are the same. I don't know if we really have that situation anywhere else other than Vegas. I think that might be the only place where we really play 2 different courses that are kind of similar in style.
Milo,
Yeah, I get that. That would probably be it. I mean, those
like a
are,
little bit of like kind of the same vibe there, I would say.
yeah. I mean, I can see that. I mean, because I think normally there's just one 20 something hole course out there, anyways, and they add extra holes. So
So
part
the
of
one that's
the,
jumping off. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think.
What do you think, Yuli?
Yeah, there's definitely not a lot of courses where there's multiple courses that we play anyway, and the ones that we do, Ledgestone, and then what do you call it?
Green Mountain.
Green Mountain, and then Worlds last year, like in Emporia. You play a couple different courses, right?
Yeah.
So Worlds usually you have a couple different courses, but I feel like majors should always be on one course. Personally, should be one course, 4 rounds. I feel like that would get your major champion. But I mean, what's my opinion worth? These guys do whatever they want. Whoever gets the bid in, that's who's getting the tournament. It seems like I've been saying that for years.
On the infrastructure side, though, I also think like doing multiple courses has to be a lot harder on the Pro Tour, right? Like having to have signage and spectator parking and making sure that there's fencing up, and I just feel like there's extra work to be done when you have multiple courses than if you just had one course that you could focus on and making sure everything was perfect for that one course.
And the sad thing is, usually the places that we play, honestly, if there's 2 courses, there's only one place that has 2 courses that I really love, and that's Vermont. I like those 2 courses. I like what they give to each other, but I do think on the property there, you could combine those 2 courses and make just like a Dream 8 team that would be phenomenal. And I'm like, I would rather play the black course at Ledgestone than play the other one, Eureka. Period.
I was just gonna ask you, is that the one you don't like, Eureka?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I would just. There's usually a better course when you have 2 of them. You know what I mean? And then you're like, okay, I would rather play this one twice or 4 times anyway compared to the other one. Like I would have rather played the end of a course all the rounds instead of having 2 courses. There's usually just a better course, and so I always had a hard time like justifying like being like, well, it's sweet that we have 2 courses when usually there's an obvious better course right in front of you that you play.
Yeah, for sure. All right, before we jump into the final round here, Yuli, do you want to have me and you kind of quickly recap our Las Vegas challenge? Because I'm sure people watching would love to kind of hear what happened with yours.
Yeah.
And then I can quickly kind of go through mine, and then we can jump into the man himself.
Sure.
about it. So like, what was your Las Vegas challenge experience like?
My Las Vegas challenge started pretty good. I mean, I was playing well in practice. I felt like I had the courses pretty dialed. I mean, the courses didn't really change that much. I heard that there was going to be a lot of changes, and then I got there and there was like 3 things that were different, and I'm like, all right, this isn't that big a deal. First round happened, and like I was saying, me and Calvin, both Calvin and I got stuck in that bad weather, remember?
Mm-hmm.
It was tough on us, man. He shot 3, I shot 2, but the 2 under that I shot was actually pretty good. And I did something similar. I got the last 3 holes to make it feel even better. And so I got out of there with a 2 under.
You go cap wrap flex on 17?
Nuke.
Nuke flex.
Nuke flex.
Okay.
I just got
I like
it.
it.
I don't know how it happened, but we got him. And then the next day I got up and I felt great, man. I really did. And my first shot, first shot of the tournament was hilarious. My first shot of the tournament, my sleeve fell down and hit my hand, and I hit the first tree on the right that's like 8 feet in front of it.
I saw that on UDIS. I saw that you went OB. I guess you ended up weren't OB when you got up there, but initially I like saw like Yuli after one throw OB, and I'm like, oh my god, he just shanked it straight.
I had to
right.
call provisional because I literally hit the first tree. It was 8 feet in front of the tee pad, and I'm like, I don't know if that's in bounds. Sorry, guys, I gotta call it provisional. I don't know if there's a line up there.
That tee shot's kind of nervy, right? Like for the first shot of the year to start your season, that shot's a little. No, Calvin, you don't think so? That gap's big enough.
It's pretty solid size gap, and it's like right there. Like it's not like it's far off the tee pad. It's like there's some room out to the right.
It's a little nervy. It's a little nervy for me at least.
And so yeah, I definitely bogeyed the first hole, which was hilarious to start my year. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be just fantastic time. And it was just a battle the whole round in the wind. But then second round came, and I felt good, man. My first shot off the tee, throw it, hit the tree by the hill, out of bounds. So I bogeyed the first hole. So now I'm like, okay, this is kind
Seeing a pattern.
Yeah, and then I'm like, all right, sweet, bogey the first hole again. Then I got 2, I got 3, parred 4. I think I get to 5, and then I got the kind of the putting woes. I was just outside the circle. Top band rolled out of bounds, re-putted, missed it. So now all of a sudden I got a double, and that's kind of how my tournament went from there on out. Is I played really good. I putted well in the circle. I threw well off the tee, but I kept landing at about 40 feet. And on that course, if you're landing at 40 feet and you're running those putts, which I got into a position where I'm trying to get back into contention, so you're obviously running those putts hard. And I rolled out of bounds from just outside the circle 6 times. And so that really cost me. And then the final round I got to watch, which was good. So I got to watch Calvin play because I did not make the cut. It sucked, man. I got to the final hole, and I made a little push the final.
I was going to say, how close did you end up getting? Were you, like, score tracking to kind of see where the cut was going?
I was playing well the final round. Like, I actually had a good round, and I was playing well. I had a couple bad breaks again. But I had a putt on 18 to shoot a 10, which would have got me to 11 under. And I thought at the time that would have got me in.
I got a story for you, too, with the cut. You guys are going to love to hear this story.
And then so I jump it, think I make it, high right chains, falls on the rim, rolls, the story, and I end up shooting, I think, a 7 under the final round. Which,
solid, though, on that course.
Yeah, and if I make that, that's a 10. That's solid. But even if it was a good thing, because even if I make it, 12 under got in. Yeah. So it didn't cost me.
Yeah, that would have been tough. My tournament in a nutshell, honestly, I thought I wasn't going to make the cut if I had to bet one way or the other. Obviously this year I just completely changed my off season about just not playing disc golf and focusing more on my fitness side. So I knew a lot of my shots were going to be rusty, and my putting was just I wasn't very confident, kind of with what you were saying, Yuli. I found myself in a lot of these 40, 35 footers, and I was not really giving them a chance to go in. And on courses like that are pretty much birdie or die out there, you kind of need to make that happen.
Were you airballing?
I did one. I saved it.
I'll tell you that much, man. I wish I was off by a lot on those baskets.
I saved it to the very last round. I airballed a birdie on hole 14, and then ended up missing the comebacker to bogey. So like that was brutal. But all things considered, like I started my final round pretty good. I was 3 under through the first 3, and then like one another. I think Innova. My first round at Innova, I ended up missing, I think I was like 2 or 3 under on the front 9, and I missed 4 putts for birdie inside the circle on the front 9. So I was like throwing really well. I just wasn't scoring. But ultimately, I made the cut. I'm not too upset with that. We'll talk about this in a second, but Calvin's big forehand, my big forehand, we're back. We are power forehand throwers now this year.
Yeah.
So that felt good. And the body held up. That was the big thing. I was still able to get my 4 lifts in. I was still able to get all my runs in last week and play. And my body felt great every single round. So pretty excited for that. And obviously now it's just kind of getting back into the practice. So, all right, enough about me and Yuli here. Let's get into the nitty gritty here with Calvin. I want to kind of just go through some of your shots on the final round. And Yuli, if you have anything, please cut me off and jump in. But I just watched for the first time your final round yesterday, and there was a couple shots I just kind of want to get an idea of what was kind of going through your head. So you started the round well. You were making putts all over the place.
Yeah.
Hole 5 comes up. You get in a really interesting spot. You are 5 feet left of eagle in this situation, and you're on the right-hand side of the par 4.
Yeah.
Was that tree in your way enough to force you to throw that flex forehand to not go backhand like Eagle did? Were you too pinched off there?
Yeah, I wasn't completely pinched off. The backhand was definitely in play. I was just more, there's like these little low, like sticky branches that were kind of in the backhand line that I was more worried about than the green with the forehand. I mean, I threw a faster disc. I meant to put it out wider and skip it off the green, but I sawed it off a little and then skipped and then rolled. I think to like circle's edge. But yeah, I wasn't very comfortable with those little twiggy branches for some reason. And anytime you kind of feel uncomfortable with the shot and there's another option, you should probably just stick away from what you're not feeling comfortable with.
And the way you're putting at that point in time, I bet it was kind of like, I know the forehand's going to get me a putt. And the backhand, like you were saying, the backhand, something could go wrong to where you might not even have a putt. So even though the shot wasn't maybe the greatest and it didn't execute well, you still gave yourself a putt and ended up making it. So yeah, when you're confident on the green like that, it kind of opens up the ability of just being like, I'm just going to chuck something up there to give myself a chance. Because that was the safe play, I guess you could say, about just kind of having it skip off the hill and go down to the right of the basket.
Are you a percentage guy, or are you like throw what's comfortable in that moment? Like, are you the guy who's there's a big gap, it's the obvious gap, but you've been throwing it a different shot a little better? Like for me, sometimes I'll go sidearm turnover on like up shots to where it's like an easy hyzer, but that's like my go-to. I know I'm going to get up and down. In situations like that, when you're battling for the win, do you go to the percentages and say, okay, I'm going wide because I know I'm going to get a, or do you play to like park the hole? Like we were talking about this last week with Eagle or with Gannon, and they were talking about like landing on the tailwind side and really like focusing on getting to that side of the basket, where I have a different thought process where I'm just trying to get it close and then I know I'm going to make it. You know what I mean? I'm not really like thinking about those little details.
Yeah, I honestly don't spend too much time thinking about what side the wind's coming on the basket. I guess I'd be more like you in that way, where I'm just I'm trying to get it close. I think
it's how champions think, dude. I don't know, man.
I mean, me and Gannon tied. So our playing style did not work. But maybe wait, what finish did you finish, Yuli? What place did you finish?
65th.
We're 30th. We're 30th, and you guys are like 32.5 average. So take that for what it is.
I would have made it farther up though if I got enough round. See,
that is true. All right, let's jump to hole 7 now, Calvin. Hole 7. What after I think you were like 5 under through 6, right? Did you miss?
I would 4 under through 6. I missed holes 2 and 3. I missed a circle 1 putt on 3.
That's right.
A bad tee shot on 2. So I would have been 4 under through 6.
Okay, so 4 under through 6, which is honestly that's what you want at that point. Maybe you can get to 5, but hole 4 is a pretty tough birdie. So that you're in a good spot at this point. You double 7. What's going through your mind at this point in time? Because you've got this great round happening, and then all of a sudden it feels like I just completely ran into a brick wall.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty frustrated with myself, as it played out. I mean, I had the box to start the hole. We kind of had a tail right to left. I had been in practice. I'd been throwing like a color glow eagle on that hole. That was my play, but that eagle, for whatever reason, had started to like pop up and turn on me later in those last.
So were you going
rounds.
for like a lower flight and then trying to get like that late skip off the green up into the basket?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was playing. Hopefully, you catch a bunker if you're, and then, I mean, I don't know. I hadn't had a whole lot of luck throwing the high driver shot, but, and honestly, when I threw it, I ended up changing, my disc to the new fairway that I'm throwing, the Vila by Millennium, and it's similar to an eagle. I threw it and I didn't feel too bad about it, but the wind just got way under. It got there so fast, like it had no chance really of sticking. Like I had to nail a bunker, or I was toast with how fast it was coming into the green. So I mean, when I saw it hit by the basket, I wasn't surprised that I went out of bounds. And then I just threw an awful approach. I just threw from the drop zone. I just threw it flat onto the green, which, if there's one place on that course that's sticky, it's the golf greens. Like you can't hit flat. If you're going to hit them, they got to be with some kind of angle to pop off. So it was just too. I mean, the first one I was upset because it's like a 400-foot par 4 that I'm now best case scenario is a bogey, but like that can happen. But the drop zone shot happening after that, like that's just really a no-go in that situation. Pretty much worst case scenario, I ended up with that double bogey on a hole that, a lot of people too. So I really gave up 4 strokes to a lot of people that shoot hot rounds. They tee that hole. So gave up a lot of strokes there. And
so what is your thought? There's a little bit of a walk from hole 7 to hole 8. What's going through your mind on that walk?
Nothing really that good.
PG version.
So you're not like you're not doing positive talk of like, you still got this, man. Come on. Like you're not, you're kind of on the negative train.
I guess I don't think I'm really even looking at the complete end game at that point. I mean, I don't know. It's when you take a double bogey on a hole that you feel like should be like at worst a 4, 2 strokes worse than like in your mind, what should be worst case scenario. You're pretty frustrated, and it's not even really that long of a walk. So it's kind of, there's not a whole lot of time to cool off, but yeah, I was pretty frustrated with myself. There was, definitely some words said to myself, and, but I mean, I knew I've definitely in the past, I just kind of use that frustration and, I try to push through it, and kind of let it drive me to do better. I knew there's still time, but I also knew at the same time that taking a double on that hole severely hurt my chances of, contending for the win.
You were going to need, at that point, you were going to need a little help, probably, is what you were thinking.
Yeah,
at that point, Kevin kind of had a pretty big lead on you.
Yeah, I was either going to have to play.
I'm curious about you saying that you use your frustration to like push forward. Like, explain that a little bit, because I feel like that's like a tough thing for a lot of people to do. and I'm wondering if that's like maybe a teachable thought process.
I don't know if it's like the smart way to play disc golf, but I honestly I feel like when I play disc golf, I have the play I should throw, and then there's my frustration driven play that's a little more aggressive and potentially can have really really good rewards, but it can also kind of tumble on you pretty quick. And I try to stick away from letting that frustration driven shot to come out, but sometimes that's the only way you can let it out. Sometimes you just need to take a hole, throw maybe a little harder than you should, and try to find a way to calm yourself down. And for me, it's just kind of letting it all out. And yeah.
Nice.
All right, we're gonna skip a couple holes here and bounce to hole 15. Now, this was a hotly debated topic on debate night this week. I feel like people that weren't there don't really quite understand, one, how difficult these final holes coming in are. And then on top of that, when you have 20-mile-an-hour winds with gusts that are just kind of, all of a sudden it's a headwind, then it's a left to right, and then it's a 30-mile-an-hour gust. Like, these holes coming in are extremely, extremely difficult. Hole 15, I kind of want to, because I speculated on your thought process. And for those listening, hole 15 is the par 4, used to be a par 5 actually, but they changed it to a par 4 now, which I think is a good change. And then they moved the basket that was kind of right behind the green, and they've kind of tucked it now behind and to the right, closer to the OB. So I think it's a great change. It plays 888 on the scorecard. However, in the wind, I feel like it was probably playing closer to like 925, 950 maybe, with how windy it was. I want to kind of hear, because I speculated a little bit last night on like what I thought was going through your head. I kind of want you just to walk us through that hole from the tee all the way to your second shot there.
Oh, so you're talking about 16, right?
No, the par. It's the par
4, but 15's the par 3.
Oh yeah, okay. So I guess 16 was I was talking about. 15 you threw. Let's actually talk about 15 before we go to 16. Sorry, I jumped ahead. I got too excited. Let's talk about 15 real quick. 15, I think were first on the tee, if I remember.
Yep. Yeah, I was first on the box.
You just had a ripping headwind, and you decided to throw a late hyzer flip that flexed out at the end. I called it the shot of the tournament. Do you think that was your best shot that you threw the entire tournament?
I mean, I don't know if it was my best shot. I honestly think the shot on 16, the approach was probably better. But I mean, the shot I did throw on 15 is right there next to it. Ripping headwind. I don't know exactly how long the hole is. It's probably like low to mid 4s, probably like 440-ish maybe.
I think with the wind, it was definitely playing over 4. Yeah, I think it was playing over the number.
Played longer in the wind. Typically, I'm throwing like a super flippy fairway driver there and kind of corkscrewing it to play that hole. But with that headwind, that wasn't possible. So I went to kind of a straight destroyer. At that point, I mean, I'm 2 back, and I know, like, I pretty much need birdies. Like I'm clawing for birdies at that point to have any kind of chance, because they're all hard to get at that point. Like there is not. I mean, 18 is probably the easiest hole left.
Yep.
I threw that destroyer and put it at circle's edge and was able to make the putt and brought it down to 1, which was pretty crucial.
Are you playing for the tailwind putt there?
No, I was not playing for the tailwind putt. Anything remotely close to the basket to give me a putt would have been great. Honestly, my miss is like low, so like tailwind putts for me are kind of a nightmare. Like like they already, like, tailwinds are wanting to slam your putter down, and like I typically miss low. So like I'm just like, man, try to throw this as high as you can. get it over that rim. But like I would rather have a headwind putt and just like slowly let it float at the basket.
Okay, so
But
walk us now, after you cash that in, walk us now through 16, because I think that really changed the entire landscape of the tournament there. I think that put a lot more, pressure on Kevin, leading into obviously 18 where you guys were both tied.
yeah, so 16, as you were saying, it's like a super long par four. They tucked a green into a place that's tougher to access now than it was before. They even used to call the hole when the pin was an easier placement of par five. So really hard hole, and we're playing into a screaming headwind. Um, and then also like the tee shot on that hole, like it doesn't allow you to just like open up to straight distance. You're kind of forced into throwing a hyzer angle off the tee because just the way the trees stack up, and then you need to work back left in order to kind of have an accessible shot into the green. So I took my most overstable driver and threw it really hard. I'm not sure exactly how far it was, but it was pretty much as far as I was going to get it to go.
It looked about 450 based off of the
Yeah.
sign, is what I call, which was probably because it was hard to tell from the Jomez coverage. Were you a good 50, 60 feet ahead of Eagle? Because Eagle was way left.
No, I wasn't really that far ahead of Eagle. I was a decent bit farther than Kevin. Um,
Yeah, Kevin looked like he was maybe 100 feet short of the 500-foot sign.
yeah,
And you
but
looked to be about 50.
Eagle and I were. I was probably a little farther than him, but not a whole lot. He was kind of close to that last small tree on the left. I was way more right than he was.
So like direct line to the basket, you were probably 30 feet closer though.
Maybe,
If you just
yeah.
went direct line. Okay.
Yeah,
And so after you threw that drive and you're getting up to your disc, there's no doubt in your mind that you're like, I have to try to birdie this hole.
At first it was kind of indecisive. I don't know. I hadn't quite thought through everything. Like, I mean, it's playing far into that headwind, and I mean,
Did
there's always the
watching-
fear. There's always the fear of
watching-
turning it.
Did watching Eagle throw his shot like give you like kind of the green light because you see his kind of get there pretty easily, or no?
No, I honestly didn't pay that much attention to Eagle's shot. Like, I mean, I saw it turn, and I saw him go out of bounds, but it wasn't. I don't know. I wasn't like I don't in that situation for me. It's like, yeah, it's good to have the wind read, but like if I'm going to throw the shot to get to the green, I need to just believe in myself. So I'm sitting there battling myself as to whether or not this is my moment or not, in order to make up that one stroke. And I had two discs in my hand. I had like my layup Firebird play in the hand, and I had that Quasar that I threw off the tee in my hand as well. And
Okay, so it was the same disc. Okay.
it was the exact same disc. And I kind of came to the conclusion that like, I had just thrown that disc. It didn't like roll over or do anything weird. And that shot honestly like was probably going to be shorter shot than 17. And if I wanted to be tied going into 18, like that was my moment essentially to flip the script from being, the guy chasing the lead to, maybe having a piece of it. So I decided to go for it, and pretty much, threw a very similar shot to what I did off the tee. And I got great ground action when I hit that hill. Combination of that hillside and then maybe just the headwind, it just pretty much stopped it. Even, I think it went right even.
It did go a little right. Yeah, you got a little anti-skip out of it.
So I got some pretty fortunate ground action. I know like the second round we played that course, like I threw and like I got a huge flare off that hill and ended up like 80 feet left. So, I definitely some fortunate ground play there as well, but I gave the disc a chance to stay there and it did. And, got a really key birdie, coming down the stretch.
So you're not a rangefinder guy. Did you range find kind of to see how far you had to throw to clear that green?
No, I did not have a rangefinder. I didn't travel with one. I do have one. honestly, I don't normally bag it. I don't know. I feel like it would be kind of a little hypocritical. I'm kind of in the camp of we shouldn't be using rangefinders during the tournament. Um, I think that's why you go out there and practice. Like if you want to give yourself notes, like bring a notebook out and practice, and you can laser yourself and put it down in a notebook. I just
I like that. I like that.
I think that's part of being a professional. You know, you go out there, you do your homework, and you know, your homework can involve that rangefinder. But I think when it comes down to playing, like I don't think other competitors should have to wait on you sitting there and using your electronic device. And I don't know. It's just not something I necessarily think should be part of the actual tournament. Um,
I will say it does look kind of weird.
yeah,
Seeing, like having someone bust out like a notebook or something, kind of looking at it, that to me probably looks a little cooler than someone like doing this. I use a rangefinder, but I wouldn't be opposed if they outlawed it or banned it.
yeah. I mean,
I would
it's
just like the caddy books to be a little bit more prepared, I guess, or detailed. If they did
yeah,
do that, that would
yeah. I
probably be
mean,
a little
I could
nicer.
definitely, yeah, I could see that. I don't know. I definitely, you know, throw a lot of shots in practice from different spots. So I have a pretty good idea of where I am and mentally note landmarks. So I had a good idea of how far I was. And I did have one practice round that I played with Zach Melton that actually played into a very similar wind. So I was fortunate to where it wasn't the first time I was ripping into a pretty stiff headwind on that approach. And I had seen myself do it before, just not in a situation where anything actually mattered.
Mattered.
Zach Melton's a pretty tough guy to beat sometimes.
Yeah,
It's good training right there.
yeah.
All right,
He's a good
let's
tosser.
let's jump ahead because hole 17, nothing really. You know, you threw the best shot of the group, but that hole was just playing, and it was interesting what you said about you were thinking on hole 16. The shot I have right now is probably very similar to the shot I have to do on 17, but I'm like 50 feet closer, so I might as well
Yeah.
just go for it here. You almost got the remarkable 15, 16, 17 birdie, which I don't know if anyone. I would doubt that anyone did that. I think there was only like 6 or 7 birdies on hole 16 the entire final round. So you almost pulled off the impossible there. So let's jump to 18 real quick. All tied up. You've got the box. You know, at this point, AB and Eagle are pretty much out of it. Everyone in the clubhouse is pretty much out of it. It's going to come down to you or Kevin. You're teeing off before Kevin.
Yeah.
What was your play? I guess what was your play on 18 on the second round? How did you play 18?
I always played to like that second landing zone. I basically I was throwing a hyzer into that second landing zone, and
Okay.
then trying to throw, you know, some form of putter or mid into the green.
So your strategy, it wasn't like you wanted to go more aggressive to put a little pressure on Kevin there. You were going with the same shot that you went in round 2.
Yeah, same. Well, yeah, I was going with the same shot that I definitely didn't execute the shot that I envisioned in my head. I pulled it, like I've said that already, and definitely chunked off more of that fairway than I wanted to. I mean, I threw it pretty hard, which in my head was my miss. Like my miss in my mind was make sure if you go out of bounds, you're going out of bounds in the pond long. Give
Yeah.
yourself the easy approach for par. But yeah, I pulled the disc. I was definitely a little worried when it was out there flying, and then when it, you know, stuck over there, I was a little shocked. I was surprised that it actually made it that far, but definitely was feeling pretty good about, you know, my chances of, you know, getting a birdie on the hole, which I wouldn't be surprised at that point if that's what was needed just to push a playoff.
Was that the same disc that you threw on 16?
Yep, that's the same exact disc I threw
Okay.
on 16 twice. Yeah.
Okay. So you stuck it basically right next to the sidewalk, which you were going to have. I was like, oh snap, he's gonna have like a little awkward kind of like run up with this weird with the OB right behind and then on the hill. But you were so far up there that I didn't think it was gonna be too much of an issue. Walk us through what was going on with like Kevin's shot. And Yuli, I would love to kind of hear your thoughts too on like Kevin's play, because to me it looked like he was playing for short of the sidewalk.
I think it was a misrelease, honestly. I think he got a misrelease, and then on top of that, he got like a really horrible wind bounce. I think he's going for the fat part of that fairway across the pond left, and I think he might have just let it go a little bit low and then not get any lift at all. And because of that, it just dropped, and then it looked like, you know, the worst shot of all time. I think that it was just a little bit of a misrelease with height, and then he didn't get those results. I don't think there's a situation after seeing Calvin do what he did where you're not going for the fat part of that fairway over there.
You can still birdie it short of the cart path, but it is like 420, 430 over there. So
yeah, but it's also the disc
a lot harder.
The disc that he chose it looked like his go for it disc. It didn't look like he chose like something slower, because then that's what I would think you would do, is take something like an overstable fairway driver and chip it over to the left-hand side. And he's not going to make a big-time mistake like that. But, I mean, the only person who really knows is him.
Calvin, any thoughts when you kind of saw him throw that shot and when you saw it ended up being OB?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine he was going for, you know, over that cart path more towards where, you know, the second landing zone is. I can't imagine that he was trying to lay up short and leave himself with 400 plus into that green in the wind. It just, I don't think that's like a real winning strategy there. Yeah, I think it was just like a little low, and then yeah, he definitely got like a drop, like the disc dropped significantly. And yeah, just really just had no chance of getting over that water once it got dropped. So I think it might have just been a slight misrelease low, and you know, with that like head crosswind, it just kind of completely killed the disc.
So, I mean, are you walking up at this point being like, I just won this tournament?
I'm definitely not one to sit there and like count people out before it's over.
Okay.
I mean, I'm definitely feeling pretty good about my chances. I mean, Kevin's, you know, still got a long way to go to get to the basket, and you know, he's going to have to, you know, give himself a putt to, in my mind, to really have a chance at even making me, you know, do it. I don't know. I felt like I had a pretty easy birdie, but like a really, really easy par.
Yep.
And I mean, maybe there would have been a lot more pressure if he had put, you know, a shot close after going OB. And, you know, maybe that birdie isn't as easy as I feel it is now, or like how I felt when I got up there and he was still, you know, 200 feet away from the basket. But yeah, I mean, I am feeling good about myself, but I'm definitely not counting. It's not over till it's over.
Yuli, anything else to finish up with the LVC here with Calvin's performance?
Then we got to talk about how close he was to actually making it.
I mean, that was
nuts. Like, it almost dropped straight down into there,
which would have forced you to have to actually birdie it, like you were talking about.
I would have had to make that like 30 to 35 foot putt.
Yeah, you had already laid it up kind of to guarantee the par. So that was
I wasn't gonna push the OB. You know, like, you know, after seeing where his third shot landed, like I'm not gonna put any OB into play. Like I just skipped it up into that hill. I left myself with a chance at the putt, you know, if I needed it or whatnot. But that would have been a pretty nervy putt if he had thrown it in, you know, 30 to 35 footer in wind, OB right behind the basket. Certainly would have been one to think about.
Yeah, and then my next question is, when you're up there battling with, you know, the final round was Anthony, Kevin, and Eagle. When you're starting that round, are you thinking like, no, I'm the man, like I'm the best player on this card, they're gonna have to come get me, or knowing that Eagle has the titles that he has? I know when I'm playing in big situations, I kind of single some people out to where I can be like, oh no, that guy's kind of going to fold. Like, I don't really have to worry about him yet because of just the way that people are. Do you have that same mindset, or do you just like focus on yourself, don't care who you play with?
I think I'm pretty focused on myself. I don't know. I think when you get into final rounds, one round it can be anyone's day. So I think in my mindset, it's like, anyone that's put themselves in that situation through 3 rounds, they're literally as close as they're ever going to be to winning it. They just got one more round ahead of them. So I focus more on myself. Don't think necessarily too much about the competitors. Maybe think a little bit about who I'm battling with, coming down the stretch with a few holes left. But at the beginning of the round, I'm just trying to focus in on myself, get as many birdies as I can, because regardless of what they do, if I'm sitting there and stacking birdies, they're going to have to be doing that too, or else I'm running away with the tournament.
And then I saw an interview with you that you did, I think it was after you won, and you were talking about like knowing Kevin's game plan, like you're going to push the envelope. You were going to like kind of be a bit more aggressive. And I really feel like that had a big time factor in winning the tournament, obviously. Have you ever done that though? Have you ever like gone to holes and just laid up knowing that people were kind of going to get into trouble? Because I feel like that's what he was kind of doing. And honestly, I don't mind him, the plays that he made, only because like the shots that you made to win the tournament were incredible. Like they weren't easy shots that anybody in the field are going to make over and over and over again. Like that, those were risky shots. And if you mess one of those up, it's over and Kevin wins.
Yeah. I think I can't think of many instances where I've necessarily like played the end of a course that way. I don't think I've really put myself in the situation where I'm coming down the stretch and I can, kind of wait for someone else to mess up. But like when I think of all the times I've won, it's not like I've been blowing the field out and, could walk it in. Honestly, I don't know exactly what it is, but I mean, I've had like 3 playoff wins, and then all the other wins I think I have are probably within 1 or 2 strokes. So everything's always been close, and laying up has not really been a choice. So
your
like
brain's going to explode if you have like a 4-shot lead with 3 holes to play. You're not going to know what to do.
Yeah, I don't want to put myself in that situation. But no, I mean, like I did know kind of what Kevin's game plan was going to be. I watched his round 2 coverage. So I saw how he played the back nine, and it was certainly more conservative than I was playing it. And I knew going into the round that if I was close going to the back nine, I was going to have opportunities to make up strokes on the back nine to possibly contend for the win. Granted, I mean, whether or not you actually execute those opportunities, I don't think if I played, like if we go to the last 4 holes of that round and it's like me versus Kevin heads up like that, like he probably wins 90 some odd out of 100 times. Like
in that
him
win,
walking in, him what?
You're saying in the same conditions,
same conditions. I think Kevin wins 90 some odd times out of 100. Like you're telling me that. Because like I'm basically what has to happen in the situation is like I have to birdie 15 and 16.
Yeah. Oh yes. Sorry. Yes. You're
like
probably not
if
birding.
I'm playing the last 4 holes, I'm back 2 holes, like 2 strokes. Like I think.
No, there's a real easy chance that your 16 shot is just a little bit worse than how you pulled it off, and you go OB and you bogey the hole, and now Kevin can just walk it in.
Yeah, but so it's like even let's say in like some of the scenarios, like I birdie 16, it's like what are the odds I birdied 15 right before that?
That is
so
true.
Now I'm pushing on 17, which is just as risky of a shot as my second shot on 16. So like it's just like most scenarios, Kevin ends up with a stroke to play with on the 18th hole. So like he doesn't have to necessarily be as aggressive. Like maybe he can lay up to that first zone, and like I don't know. I just think there's a lot of most situations don't involve me and Kevin going into that last hole tied in those conditions.
That's where I found it so funny, because when I did that live stream last night, when I was rewatching it, there's so many comments of people being like, "Oh, I had no idea how difficult those holes were," and I don't know how to change that, or how to like, maybe get boots on the ground out there during live coverage to talk more about those holes. I just think people completely overplayed how like people just thought your birdie on 15 and 16 was like, yeah, duh, it's Calvin. Obviously he's birding 15 and 16. And then people thinking that you having a putt on 17 is like, yeah, of course. It's like, what? It's not that. Like those 3 holes are freaking hard. To give yourself even one circle, like one look on those 3 holes is an impressive feat. And so I think that was really missed during the live. And maybe it was over. I don't know. I just don't think you got the credit that you deserved on how well you played those last 4 holes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I could not be more happy with the way I played those holes. Like, oh, cat. I just don't think there's very many situations where I birdie 15 and 16 in the win that we had to actually put pressure on Kevin and create the situation that I did. So, yeah, I mean, those holes are incredibly difficult when there's no wind, and when there's a screaming headwind, they're, almost not gettable. It seems like. I mean, I'm sure 16
Oh, go. Yeah, finish.
I assume 16 was probably the toughest playing hole on the course that day, or maybe at least the least birdied, maybe not. The
toughest was it's tough when you have like people blowing up, because you can't really blow up on 16 that bad, because most people are probably doing the layup play. But yeah, I think 16 was for sure the least birdied, and 15 honestly might be right next to it as far as like between those two.
Yeah,
I doubt that there was more than like 14, 15 birdies the final round. So, and that's with some people going out a little earlier in the day when the conditions were a little bit better. So, all right, I do have one more question. This is more of like a bigger picture question, because I feel like the story of Calvin was, this guy's so good, he's a top 5 player, but he can't win. Mm-hmm. Was that something, because that was maybe 2 years ago, I remember that kind of happening. Was that something that like has motivated you? Because I don't think that story obviously exists anymore. But did you use that as motivation, kind of hearing that you're a top 5 guy, but you can't finish, you can't close one out?
I don't know if I use that as motivation. I kind of feel like I'm always trying to go out there and win. I don't know. I honestly feel like there's a lot of takes in disc golf media that are just like super off base. And
let's hear them. Let's get
like,
after it.
I don't feel like, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes it's kind of why I don't really pay attention to most of it anymore. It's just like, I feel like we have people talking about these courses and like they don't know what the weather is. Like they just sit there, like we'll take 15 and 16, for example. They just look at a whole map and they don't take into account the weather or, kind of like the style of how a person plays, how difficult, that shot might be for their play style. It's just like, I feel like there's so many intricacies to the game and like actually looking at a specific player. And I don't know. I feel like a lot of times we have people just.
We might have lost Calvin there for a second. I think he was about to throw someone under the bus, and I was really interested to see what he was going to say. All right, we'll try to get Calvin in here. Hopefully he can join back in.
But that is interesting what he's talking about being, I can definitely see where he's coming from. And that's a great point of saying how maybe the announcers don't really know that play style and how tough it is for that person to throw that exact shot. I feel like that is so.
I mean, you've done commentary when you haven't been on the ground, right? It's hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
Like if you're not
to know people's games, and I feel like I do try to explain how tough it is and what the conditions are, but luckily, like I've been around and I've played so long that I understand that, and I'm like a weirdo, man. I look at people's playing styles. Like, I know what discs they throw pretty much. I know what angles they like to throw on, with the speeds they like to throw on, their run-up, what this, that, and the other thing. Like, I'm a weirdo with that kind of stuff. I'm fascinated by form. So that is – but it's so true that if he's saying they're not getting that across, I wonder how much coverage he actually watches. It sounds like he watches a lot if he said that he saw – Kevin Jones in the final round, and he was like studying what was going on.
It's such an interesting thing because I think that's so cool about disc golf is I find myself doing that a lot too, of where if I'm struggling on a certain hole, I'll go and watch coverage of like what the leaders did. Like, how are they playing this hole? Because clearly I'm not doing it right. Like they've got to be doing something differently. It's always a bummer when you see that they're playing it exactly the same way as you are and you're just worse than they are. But yeah, no, I think right now disc golf is again so young that there are just so many different voices that are trying to get into disc golf media and trying to be a voice and trying to have these hot takes and trying to say stuff. And I think Calvin still thinks he's on. he just texted me, "Did I fall off the call?" All right, we're gonna see if he can rejoin here. But yeah, I think it's just growing pains, right? I think also the issue we have is let's just say when you retire, when Sexton retires, when Philo retires from actually playing, and some of these other people, there are going to be people that have been in the nitty gritty. Because I think disc golf is way different. The landscape is way different right now than it was even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So if you haven't played in the last 10 years, it's going to be tough for you to kind of really give a good of, hey, this is what's happening. This is what's going down. So, all right, Calvin, you didn't miss much, but you're back. And
I'm back.
We feel like you're about to just drop a bomb on some disc golf media. So if you have other takes that you want to go for, by all means, let it happen. If not, we can go into the next topic here.
We can go in the next topic for now.
Okay.
I got one more question for you though, Calvin.
All right.
So
Perfect.
moving forward, you got the big win in Las Vegas, first tournament of the year. Major championships, is that where your focus is? Is that the big ones that you want? Or are you just going tournament to tournament and trying to do your best? Or is that in the back of your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think majors definitely in the back of my mind. I've definitely put more importance on those, like last year in my mind than I have in the past. I just haven't pulled one off. I haven't, come through and finished one out. I definitely gave myself plenty of opportunities last year. I was on, I think, three final round cards at majors.
It's really good.
Yeah, not bad, but I didn't win any of them. So that's also not good. But
yeah, but like a win like this is a building block, obviously, and so you're probably feeling pretty good about your chances moving forward. And what is your like mental preparation? Do you try to prepare differently for those tournaments because they're more important, like mentally, or are you just like, okay, I'm going to stay patient. Once I get there, I'm going to do this? Or is there certain things that you're doing different? I mean, Brody took a different approach this offseason, getting his body into shape. Do you do things like that, or is it just like
I think when
after day?
Yeah, I think when it comes down to the majors, I don't know. Mentally, I feel more locked in, or at least I did last year. I just felt, way more focused on every little aspect of my game, where I wanted to be, where my misses should be if I were to miss, and they're like, at any other normal Elite Series event, maybe I'll go out and play pickleball or something, 3 nights a week. At a major, I'm a whole lot less inclined to do that. And, I'm just way more locked in on the actual tournament itself. And that's not to say I'm not focused at the other ones, but I think
you just want. You can say whatever you want.
I think my entire focus, is completely on the event at the major, as opposed to a normal Elite Series. I want to go do something that's fun in the afternoon, blow off some steam, and I'll go do that.
All right, let's jump into the next topic here. The Jomez intro video. Was that one of the best pieces of disc golf content we've seen? What are your guys' thoughts? I thought it came out incredible. I thought it was sick. I don't know if they're going to do that for multiple tournaments this year, or if that was just like we're doing it at the beginning. Yuli might have a little insight with us on that, but I mean, that was a sick intro. It got me hyped. I was there and I kind of could see what they're doing, and I was still hyped to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty sweet. I also got to participate in the filming of it, so that was cool. But I think, I don't know, based on the past, I feel like Jomez always does some cool things like that at the beginning of the year, maybe for the first event. I don't think they're probably going to carry those through, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Vegas also is, a pretty obvious theme to go with. I don't know if every venue we play at does, but
Maybe for
you're right.
majors, Yuli? A little
I don't
major
think there's any
hype
plans
video?
for that. I think sometimes we do little hype piece for final rounds and stuff by, getting Germ in my opinion about something, and then they put a nice little video of like maybe the past 3 rounds. You know what I mean? Like little hype pieces like that. I'm sure we'll do more of those, but in Vegas we always have some sort. Usually they're goofy. This time it was a little more serious and well thought out. And shout out to the producers who produced it. That was good stuff.
And the
But I don't
editors,
think-
too. That was
Yeah,
well
the editors,
edited.
yeah. I don't
Yeah.
think that moving forward we're gonna have like one every
Okay.
turn. Even
All
though
right,
that'd be cool.
I can only dream. I just feel that, to me, is like the stuff that I feel could help push pro, live, disc golf, whatever it is, can help push it, because that is such a shareable piece of content outside of obviously the ridiculous highlights and putts and throws and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But like leading into a tournament, to me, like that's what I would love to see kind of buzzing around on social media, is those types of pieces, whether it's the entire field or if it's a particular one person. I love seeing more of that stuff.
They did say that Calvin was a sure thing in there.
Oh yeah, you were the sure thing.
Was I the sure thing or like the safe bet? Well, I don't remember.
I think they're the same.
I
One
think
and
you
the
were
same.
the sure thing or the safe bet. I don't know. Either one, they nailed that for sure.
All right, let's go through. We might have some intel here with Yuli on Big Germ. He did come out and say he's doing better now. He had a DNF because of his ankle. Is he good to go for Waco? I know he loves that tournament, so I would hate to see him not be able to play there.
I don't know, man. I think he's good. He has these weird flare-ups sometimes in his knees and his ankles, and like he'll all of a sudden have like a swollen ankle, or just wake up and it'll be swollen. And I can attest. Like I looked at his ankle, and it was pretty bad. So, but then a couple days later, it wasn't fine, but the swelling had gone down, and he's like, yeah, it's just sometimes this is how it works, which is pretty bizarre to me. But yeah, he should be good to go. Honestly, he just has those weird flare-ups sometimes. So it's not like he was walking and rolled his ankle and snapped his ankle or something. It was just like some random.
Yeah. So on the flip side, we have the Gavin Babcock. We actually saw. This was wild. We were on hole 6 at the time. People were teeing off on hole 7, and this golf cart is just zipping down hole 7's fairway. And like the people on the tee are like, hey, like stop, like, because they're like middle throwing the tee shots, and this golf cart's about to just zip right in front of them. Well, it turns out Gavin was in the front seat, and I was like, what the heck just happened? So I guess the story is one of his discs got caught up in a tree, and he went up to retrieve it, and as he was coming down, he landed funky on his ankle. I think we have some pictures here that Silas can pull up of Gavin posted here on his social media, so you can kind of see the swelling that he had. Do we have any updates on where he's at? I haven't talked to him, so I don't know.
Well, I'm in Arizona, and he's staying at the same house as I am, and
Yuli's got all the updates.
His ankle's looking better. I don't think it's good by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think he's playing this week, but it is looking better. He could maybe play. He's walking around, and he has a big old ankle brace on there and stuff.
Dang. Okay. So it's one of those scary sprains that's like initially it's like this feels awful, but then it gets better as it goes. All right. So hopefully those guys are both good to go. I I gotta tell you guys this. Do you guys know the story about how the cut, like what happened there, the craziness at the end? Calvin, you probably weren't even paying attention because you're like 20 shots higher than it. But Yuli, did you hear about this or no?
No.
Okay. So I'm playing with Gannon and wow, I'm blanking on the other person. I'm playing with Gannon and someone else that are kind of near the cut line the entire tournament. Entire final round 3. I thought going into round 3, I was like, the cut line's probably 10 under, is what I'm thinking. If you shoot 10 under, you're probably safe. Well, we get to hole 17, and the cut is at 11 under, which I was like, all right. I mean, I thought 10, but 11, whatever. We get up to the basket on hole 17, and you can look across and kind of see hole 18. And we've been obviously looking at the leaders, and because I'm trying to help Gannon, because he's like right there. I'm trying to help kind of do the math of like who's below the cut line and like can the cut move and all this stuff. And I'm telling him, I'm like, if you shoot 11, you're fine, dude. You're in. And at this time, I see Cole Redalian. I always say his last name. Redalin. I see him at 11 under at this point. He's lining up a putt short left of the basket, straight headwind from like 40 feet. And I'm like, does he not realize, like he's putting for birdie. I'm like, does he not realize that he can just lay up, tap in, and he's made the cut? I'm like, we know, like if you airball that putt, and we've seen people do it, if you airball or you chain out, like you can get a roll away and all of a sudden like now you have a putt for 30 feet to make the cut. I'm like, just lay up. Does he not know where he's at? Juices it, cashes it, just like major fist bump, like, yeah. And I'm like, what? Turns out after the round, I bump into him and I'm like, Cole, I'm like, bro, did you not know that you were like safe? You could just lay up and you're fine. He's like, no, dude. He's like, Bradley was 11 under and was 10 feet closer than me and had a birdie putt. If I miss and Brad makes it, the cut goes to 12 and I miss the cut because I'm at 11. So what ended up happening is Cole makes the putt to go to 12. Brad makes the putt to go to 12. And these 7 or 8 guys that were all in the clubhouse at 11 thinking, oh, we're good. The cut just jumps from 11 to 12. And I'm just like, oof, gosh. Wild stuff for the bottom guys. But you know, when you're bottom feeders like myself, like that's what we live for. We love seeing that stuff. It's incredible. Because now you're not having to fight for, you're not having to go into the final round being like, I might not cash.
One of my favorite things to say is there's no pressure like last cash pressure. And there isn't. And this is my theory on it, is because for me, like personally, having to battle for last cash, my expectations are a lot higher. And so if I'm battling for last cash, I'm obviously playing bad. But then you're battling with the other guys who are probably playing pretty good, because they're made. And so now you're in this like spot where you're playing against some guy who's like fist pumping 30 footers. And you're like, wait, this guy's actually trying to beat me right now. And then your game's in shambles, obviously. So you're making the silliest mistakes ever. And you're trying to beat somebody who's actually playing really good for them. And you're playing really bad. Dude, it's a mental nightmare for last cash, I'm telling you.
It brings me back to my cross-country high school days where I'm running my heart out, right? Like I'm like running at a 9-minute pace just to try to, do like 27 minutes or something in a 5K. And I'm just like, and I'm just running, right? And all of a sudden this guy just sprints by me and I'm like, what? And I'm just running. And then like within 30 seconds, the guy's walking. So now I pass him and I'm running. And then all of a sudden, 30 seconds later, he sprints by me. And I'm like battling this guy that is just sprinting and walking. And I'm like, I'm not fast enough to just like, I'm all the way in the back where this sprinter walker that has no idea how to run cross country. And I'm battling this guy for my life. And it's just like, it is the worst feeling. If anyone has ever dealt with that, it is the worst feeling in the absolute world. And there's nothing you can do. You can't run faster. You blow your heart out. No, that's all I was going to say.
No, so just imagine this. Like, you're Like, imagine Calvin battling for last cash. Obviously, he's not.
When was that, Calvin? When was that last time? Do you remember? Has that happened recently? Like within the last couple years?
Let's see. Last year, I think I didn't cash at Beaver State. I don't know even how close I was to the cash line there. I might not even been close. I know I was just playing bad. And then I like tweaked my back, and then I just didn't want to be out there because it was just like
Weather was terrible too. Yeah.
I was like, man, I don't feel great. It's wet out. I'm probably not going to cash. Great situation.
Imagine like having a putt. So your game's in shambles. You haven't made anything the whole tournament. Obviously, that's why you're in this position at last cash. And then you have a 30-footer to make cash. Are you making it? You have no idea because
it's
your
a coin
game's in
flip.
shambles. You get what I mean? Like, there's no kind of pressure like that because you're like, probably not making this. Like, haven't made one the whole tournament. Anyways, it's hilarious to me.
I love having like cuts too. It's gonna be interesting to see because I think the PJ Tour is actually going away from cuts at their designated events because obviously as a product, if you have, some of your disc golf doesn't have that issue. We don't really have that many tournaments where our top players aren't making cuts, but that is a normal thing at golf events. And it's like if you have your number one player or number two or whatever, and they're just like not in the event on Saturday and Sunday.
Woods.
That's kind of wild. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how that moves forward because I actually like cuts, but at the same time, I kind of can see how like, if Calvin and Paul and Ricky all of a sudden miss the cut, does the weekend kind of feel a little less?
Yeah.
Right? A little bit. So we'll see how that goes
like
moving forward.
If you could watch Tiger every round, I don't care what card he's on. I'm going to go find Tiger.
Yeah,
and if
it
he's getting cut,
is true.
Yeah, definitely less for the weekend.
All right. I want your guys' initial reaction when you saw this clip. Silas, pull it up for us so we can watch it.
Welcome back.
We got AB here
Spirella.
on the hole 13. Tailwind.
Final 9 holes out here.
Smacks the crap out of this.
Outward 9.
Oh no.
Get out of here,
No,
dude.
no.
Say it ain't
No.
so.
All right. So what?
No.
So just for people, I'm sure most people, if you're listening, what just happened basically, AB threw a drive. There was a Jomez camera catch cam person and a rangefinder person right next to one another, about 510, 515 feet down the fairway, right next to a bunker. The disc ends up hitting the rangefinder person's ankle or foot, and it was going to be 100% safe, and it skips now, bounces in the hazard. What are your guys' thoughts?
First thing is, I was 50 feet away from him, so I'm pin high with bunker guy, and I'm with AB's parents.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. And my first reaction, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think it was 100% going to be safe. I really don't, because as it was coming, it was dropping, and it could have maybe hit the lip of the bunker. I'm just going to say that right away. From my view, and
It hit the guy's foot that's on the left side of the bunker.
Yeah, but that's a bad angle. I'm telling you, it was going to have to go over the corner of the bunker, 1,000,000,000%.
All right.
And so my first reaction was I was thinking to myself when it was coming, I didn't think it was going to hit that guy. I was thinking, get over the bunker. Right? Like, I'm like, stay up. Because that's my boy, No offense,
Yeah.
Calvin, but I was rooting for AB out there. And then I see it hit the guy, and it just barely falls into the thing. And I'm sitting there hugging Trina like, oh, no, this is so bad. And then I go, that guy's going to have the worst week of his life, man. That's a bummer. Because he's just out there doing a rangefinder, man.
It's not his fault.
His fault. It's
He
nobody's
was told
fault.
to be there. He was told to be there.
Exactly.
No, it is someone's fault. It is someone's fault. Someone told him to be there.
Well, the camera guy's right there, too. And it's AB's fault for throwing it 580 feet.
No, stop that. Stop that.
Kidding. But, like the camera guy's going to have to turn around. So they're not expecting him to throw it that far. That's why they're in that position in the first place. Like that's a far shot to clear that bunker, first of all. Most of the time, everybody's hyzering off to the left. So that tailwind must have been pretty crazy. So the initial thoughts were, it was the most unlucky thing I've ever seen in my life. Then I felt bad for the guy who got hit because I know how disc golfers are. And so I felt bad.
Sport fans.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sports.
You were the
fans.
Cubs guy? The Cubs guy that like leaned out and caught the foul, like messed up the foul ball catch in the World Series or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, people are ruthless.
Ruthless. So those were my first thoughts.
Calvin, what were you thinking? You were there. I don't know if you could you
Background. No, I'm just
what was he fist bumping? Was Calvin fist bumping in the background?
Honestly, no, I wasn't. But I didn't actually see it happen. My back was to the box when it happened. I heard
That's a
the
courtesy
commotion.
violation.
I turned around. I was pretty confused as to what was going on. People were saying that some dude got hit down there. At first, like I didn't even know that meant that AB's disc was in a bunker. So I was just pretty confused as to what was going on up there. I was like, why is everyone so upset?
Could ABC, do you know if AB knew that it went in the bunker? Like when he was walking up there, could you tell he knew it was in the bunker, or did he kind of discover that when he walked up?
I think he knew. He seemed pretty upset on the end of the tee box. Like I think he was in a lot of disbelief as to what had just happened. Like I think he kind of stood there for a little longer than he normally would have. Yeah, I mean, I didn't. I guess my first reaction was really like I wasn't fully understanding what was happening until I really saw the disc in the bunker and put it all together. Definitely an unfortunate situation, and I don't know who threw first. Do you guys remember if Eagle or Anthony threw first on that hole?
No, I think AB.
Anthony.
I think AB threw first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then
Or was
Eagle
it
just
Kevin?
tried to. I think Kevin was last on the box there.
Oh,
Eagle just threw over their heads. So
Oh,
they,
then.
yeah, because
Okay.
it was AB then Eagle, I believe, is what happened.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that poses the question now: what are your guys' opinions on having? I'm even going to say cameramen in the way of play. And I guess other, volunteers, whether it's Bushnell, whether it's whatever, rangefinder people, disc golf pro tour staff, whatever, marshals, whatever you have it. What are your guys' thoughts on having those people in fairways, down fairway?
I guess as far as the sport goes, I guess it's not ideal from a player's perspective, but I also think like we need those people there in our current state. Like that's like the only reason like a lot of us are making money is because they're sitting there and posting media, and that's one of the ways that we gain fans, and that's the way the fans get to see our competition. We're not at a point yet where we can have like stationary cameras on towers outside of tournament play to capture all the action. So I think they're as far as cameramen go at this point, I mean they're really there for the viewers, and that's kind of what makes the whole gig that we have as professionals work. If we don't have all these fans and other viewers, we're not out there doing this.
Shout out to the cameramen. You don't see a lot of them get hit, honestly. They're pretty good about getting out of the way, if I'm going to be honest. I would think because of where they are, they have a tough job, man. They got to follow that thing through a lens, and then
Scary.
know what it is. That's a scary
terrifying
position to be in.
For sure.
And so the fact that they're as good as they are and getting out of the way is pretty good. And like Calvin said, it's a necessary kind of a bummer deal. Like it just is what it is, but you're never going to get away from that, really. You're always, if you're going to throw a shot, that was a weird case because it was a good shot. You never see a good shot kind of get crunched by a lot of people right now, because I feel like one of the things we see a lot of is maybe throwing it into the fans and it's coming back inbounds and then it hits a spectator. So this is a rare case where, you know, an actual person who's kind of supposed to be there gets hit and it's just really unlucky.
So two things on that. First pushback, I guess, to both of you guys is, Yuli, how bad was your angle of their tee shot on that hole?
How bad was it?
Yeah, like were you not able to see them throw from where you were standing when they were throwing?
No, I mean I could see them, but not that good, I guess. I
Like
was
once,
50
but
right.
but once the disc was out of the tree line, could you kind of follow it the whole way though?
Yeah.
Because that would be my only argument is like, I don't think, I by no means am saying we need to get rid of the camera guys. We need to have obviously people filming. But are there maybe places that would be better suited to not be in the way as much, right? Because like where you are,
I don't think they're in the way a lot. Honestly, I really don't. I think they're pretty good about staying out of the way. And I think this was a rare case where the wind completely flips. He's normally right there. We're hyzering to the left side of that bunker. I mean, that's a super rare case to where all the, you know, the conditions kind of favored these guys to almost go at the green. The thing's like 700 feet.
yeah.
And if he
Eagle
clears
smash
that
it.
thing, he's circled too, you know?
I guess the only other time it pops up that I've seen it is around the putting greens, where you'll sometimes have the cameras be almost directly in line with the basket. And we have seen where people will airball or will skip off the top of the basket, and then it like hits the tripod or the person, whatever. And, you know, it was going to be an extra 10 or 15 feet away or maybe roll out of bounds, and it kind of gets held in there. I don't think it's as crazy right now because, you know, I agree with you. It doesn't happen all that often, but my only concern is as disc golf grows, there's going to be more camera people, right? Essentially, there's going to be more people. And if it's not something that is thought about or taken into consideration now, could it lead to becoming a more serious issue down the road for players? That would be my only concern of, you know, just because it rarely happens now.
I don't think it's going to get worse, honestly. I think if anything, it'll get better. And like I said, I don't think it's a huge problem. Like this was a rare case to where like they hit him going straight out of bunker, and it was a terrible situation.
Yeah, the way it turned, the
the
circumstance of how it turned out was wild.
Yeah.
The fact that it hit and went into the bunker, but
Yeah, definitely unfortunate. I do think, yeah, as you were saying, it's a pretty freak situation. Like you basically have one of the farthest throwers on the planet throwing in a tailwind, like over a bunker that no one else is really ever throwing over. So, I mean, I really, yeah, 99% of the time they're not in the way. Probably even less than that. But it's just that one day.
if it happens again, I'm gonna tweet at you guys. If it happens again, every time it happens this year, I'm gonna tweet at you and be like, it happened again. It happened again. We'll see. But hopefully not. Hopefully not. Especially for like the rangefinder guy, I would be like, bro, just like do what they do like in football when the guy that like grabs the tee after the kickoff, you know, just stand OB, and as soon as all the drives are done, like run out, range find, and then run back and get out of the way. All right, we got another video.
catch him range finding though. Jeez.
What's that?
I said, don't let Calvin catch him range finding though. Jeez, bro.
We got another video here. Pull this one up. Actually, same hole, surprisingly. I don't know if you saw this one. Same hole. Cat, second shot on this hole. Now, she definitely did yank it to the right, way further right than she wanted to. But we've got just carts that are just chilling.
She was gonna have an eagle putt.
So this is a little bit of a different scenario. We now have like golf carts, which my first question would be why? Like what? Like who's in the golf cart? Like who has a golf cart? Like a PDGA official that's like zipping around the course, or like what is the owner of the golf course? Like what? Who has the rights to the keys of these golf carts? I guess would be my first question. And then why are we parking it right next to the green?
Yeah,
Stumps.
yeah, that's a tough one. I that's so bad. There was two carts there.
There were two carts.
There were two carts. Not even the one that just got hit. She almost hit the other one first. But yeah, I'm not sure what those carts were doing. I don't know if they were, carts out there zipping stuff out for camera guys.
I know what they were for.
I mean, like it could be camera guys because I know they're. I don't know. I don't know if they switched stuff.
They were zipping the camera guys. They were getting the camera guy into the car to get him in position on the next hole.
I like that. I like that a lot. That's fine. So I'm fine with the cart being there. Spot location is probably that. I mean, the one before that was even probably worse. That she ended up barely missing. I mean, I don't know.
That's brutal. That cart should never be there, never be anywhere close to there, never been parked there ever. That's terrible.
Like just move up 100 feet, right?
Yeah,
Like just move up 100 feet. You can still see.
Correctly.
And if she hits you, she hits your cart 100 feet up, guess what? You were still going to be out of bounds.
Yeah.
So luckily that didn't affect the tournament at all. I did hear.
Destroy everybody.
Yeah. I did hear though, and maybe Calvin, you can, or I guess Yuli, you can talk on this too since you're walking there. I did hear from some people that they thought that AB, once that bad break happened to him, he kind of like the rest of his round was really rocky. Like it kind of maybe affected him a little bit. Thoughts on that? Did you see that or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he played great after that moment. I guess honestly, at that point, I wasn't like super in tune with where all the scores were. I was still pretty focused on trying to get myself back in it. I feel like he was definitely closer to Kevin than I was at that point.
I think so.
I think it was tight for the lead at that point.
Yeah. So, I mean, mentally, that's probably a pretty big hit. I will say that, like, yeah, because I think even on the next hole, I think he threw a pretty bad I think his tee shot got lucky, I think, even on the next hole. I feel like he kind of pulled it into the OB and it might have popped out.
Yes. It should have been OB. Yeah.
But yeah, he definitely didn't play, to the same level he had been for the rest of that weekend, after that moment. He was obviously playing good enough to be right there in it, and he definitely tailed off there. I feel like he started throwing shots that were pretty errant. He was throwing a lot of things that were just kind of like turning over and not ending up in very good places. So I don't know if that's because of his frustrations, but
Didn't help.
Yeah, I can't imagine it would help. When you're super locked in, your one goal is, winning, and you're right there. You're less than 9 holes away, and something that's out of your control kind of could affect that end result. I can imagine that'd be pretty frustrating and tough to shake.
I don't know what I would have done if I threw the shot and it hit the cart. Like I don't know how I would have reacted in that situation. That would have been one to me seems so much worse than the other one, but
yeah,
they're both not good.
The car is super tough because it's like an object that once a disc is coming at it, it's not going to move fast enough to get out of the way. It's not mobile enough. And they had 2 huge objects basically sitting on the OB line where, some people do come into that green on hyzer. So, yeah, the cart, I would say, is probably something that could be looked at more and fixed. The situation with the hit volunteer, that was just unfortunate. And honestly, I don't really see that happening very often. And
if it does, I will tweet you, obviously. I will let you know.
I will be waiting for the tweets.
All right, let's talk Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship updates. Did you guys see that they are completely overhauling how the Tour Championship is going to be going down this year?
I heard about it. I haven't gone and read the document yet. I kind of know there's people that are going to go into. We all go into the same round, but you can go in with like stroke advantages. But
yeah, so the cliff notes essentially no more buys. which I think great for two reasons. One, I think as a spectator, it makes every day way more exciting because, like we kind of talked about before, it having an event where your best players aren't really playing until later makes it seem like who's going to show up for the first few days, right? Because the top players aren't playing. So I love having everyone play. And then I also think too, I've never had a bye, so I don't know how, but Calvin, maybe you can talk about it. Not being able to like have, those initial tournament rounds, I think maybe can be a little bit of a disadvantage for some of where they.
Before. It's the best
Okay,
thing.
you can talk about it. Well, yeah, it's great for the money situation where you're just like automatically in, but I have heard from some people saying how not being able to play and then kind of jumping in when everyone else has had a couple rounds. I've heard some people claim that wasn't super fair. I don't know if I'm buying that.
After their bye.
Yeah.
That honestly could be the case.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like, for me, like, I've had multiple times where I've basically had a bye to the semifinals, and for me, that means all I have to do is play one good round, and I'm in the finals. So, like, rather than having to play, good 3 times or something to get to the finals. So I would certainly rather have the buys than not. It is kind of weird, not participating in an event, in the first rounds, like you're just kind of spectating until it's your turn to play. It is definitely a different experience, but we're able to get out on the course after play and still practice and get out there and get in the reps that we need, even in the old format. So I think, at least me personally, I will always take the buys.
Take the bye.
I would rather not have to play good 3 different rounds to make it to the finals. If I only had to do that once, that's great.
All right, so for MPO, the top 32 in points will qualify. Number 1 in points will start the first 2 rounds at 6 under. Number 2 will be 5 under. 3 and 4 will be 4 under. 5 through 8 will be 3 under. 9 through 16 will be 2 under. 17 through 24 will be 1 under. And 25 through 32 will be even par. And then we move on to the cut. So after those rounds with those initial scores, the top 12 will move on to the finals. If there are any ties, those will be broken by seed. And then I thought this was very interesting. They are going to completely reset scores. So if you barely make it in, you will be tied with everyone else going into the finals, which will be another 2 rounds, and normal playoff rules apply if there's any ties towards the end. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? With obviously changing it to where there is an advantage for those not with buys but with actually strokes, and then what are your thoughts on kind of halfway through the event just being like, all right, if you make top 12, everyone's starting even for the last 2 rounds? Yuli hates it.
I think it's silly. I think if you have a stroke system to where you start in a round at 6 under par, you should be able to take your advantage since you're the number 1 player all the way to the end. You've earned it for the whole entire season. To have them at any point when somebody says you have to have a competition, and then at one point, guess what? It all goes to scratch, and now you guys are just going at it. I think whoever made that decision, they really need to think.
They root for the underdog, is what it sounds like. They're the underdog guy.
But that's not how sports work. You earn your under pars. Otherwise, just have a regular tournament. I don't know how we're trying to just keep reinventing the wheel here with all this. All right, now 32nd to 24th, you're 1 under, but then now that you're 4 under, now everybody's at even. It's like, what? How does that doesn't make any 0 sense to me. Like, I get what they're trying to do, but then why have 6 under, 4 under, 3 under, 2 under, 1 under in the very beginning?
Yeah, I mean, I like that mainly because I think the old format was very hard for viewers to know what was going on, because you'd like go to one person and they'd be like 3 under, and then you go to someone else and they'd be 6, and it's like, oh, well, the 6 under person's probably not going to qualify because they're in this group, and then this 3 under person is going to qualify because they're in this group. So like consolidating it to where everyone is playing under a stroke play thing makes sense. But Calvin, do you like this new format? What are your initial thoughts on it?
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I can't say I love it. I do think, the people that are the top seeds, like, obviously have a huge advantage, and like they're showing they're going to give you that huge advantage to push you through. It almost feels like it's a way, to kind of like for the people that were saying that they didn't like buys, it feels like a way to appease them and make them play every round. Like it's like you're going to play every round, we'll give you an advantage, and then still have the same ending as before, where everyone's playing heads up essentially. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It does feel weird. I guess I've never really seen a disc golf style event played that way, so that's why it feels weird. I don't know if they've done that in golf or not before. I'm assuming they drew it from somewhere.
Yeah, I mean they took a little bit from the Tour Championship in golf, but golf doesn't reset. So
No one does.
that's the big difference here. And I guess that would be the wild thing is like if someone, if the number 1 or number 2 guy that starts at 6 or 5 under, right? If they just play out of their mind and they get to 20 under par after round 2 and somebody squeaks in at 6 under. And
yeah,
then
it does feel weird that resets. Sure.
Now they're on the same playing field for
So weird.
$40,000.
Yeah, in essence, it's like kind of drawing off the format that got vetoed for Champions Cup. Because that's what they're kind of trying to do at Champions Cup before. It was going to be like 4-round stroke play, top 4 go to a match play bracket.
Nothing matters after that. Match play, baby.
No, and then it was stroke play after that, and nobody. And
I remember being something weird.
Oh no, I think it was. Yeah, it was something funky. It was definitely something along the lines of where like there was something happening, and then all of a sudden, okay, all that doesn't matter anymore. Everyone is starting fresh.
I would love to see a match, it being just match play. Why not that? Why not you get a number 1 seed and then maybe
bracket?
Bracket.
Heck yeah.
And then you get
give Calvin the buys. Calvin gets the buys again.
Yes.
1 seeds get the buys.
Yep.
Okay.
I think match play is a really easy way to get what everybody wants, except for they're not going to be playing. But match play is so fun to watch and easy to follow on the screen compared to other things.
Calvin, would you rather have a bye if you were the 1 seed in this hypothetical match play bracket that we've just talked about? Would you rather have a bye straight into the second round or play the 64th seeded player?
I'll take a bye. Send me to the next round.
You don't want to lose to Acorn State or whatever and get the upset.
What do I have really to win beating the 64th seed?
Nothing. You have everything to lose.
Everything to lose. I don't want to be in that
position.
Yeah.
All right. Yuli, do you have something to talk about real quick? Because I got to pull up this next thing real fast. I'm not prepared. So,
did you play in the match play tournament last year, Calvin?
I did not. It was right after Beaver State where I tweaked my back, so I took the week off.
Oh, wow.
I was scheduled to play, and then I was just like, I'm not feeling right. There's no way I'm going to 8,000 feet and throwing as hard as I can. So
I feel like a match play tournament would be very successful on our tour. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I played the match play event in Pennsylvania 2 years ago, and I mean, I played well in it. It seemed like it was pretty fun. It was definitely different. It was like the first time I'd gotten to play that kind of a format. But yeah, I feel like it rewards a slightly different style of play, which I think is kind of cool. And it was exciting and fun to play just because it was different.
And then we were talking about this last week. What about I think you've won a mixed doubles world title, yeah?
Yep, I won last year.
Last year you're the champion. How well, don't you think that should get a little bit more recognition, like actually be a real tournament?
Separate. It needs to be separate.
Yeah, separate,
Mhm.
like a completely different week, but we all team up with whoever and we go for a mixed doubles world title. Wouldn't that be awesome? Or just a title in general. It could be on the pro tour. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty cool format. Doubles can introduce all kinds of different things, whether it's best shot, worst shot, alternate shot, and you can definitely have some pretty fun, interesting golf and different strategy going on. I really enjoyed playing the mixed doubles at Worlds. I think it would be pretty cool if we did have like an actual event that was dedicated to that. Whether it's mixed doubles or even just like you know not mixed doubles, like we just play doubles with whomever else. But either way, I
That'd
think
be
double
sweet too.
format tournament would be cool.
It's such a disc golf thing too. Like doubles is such a common thing throughout all of disc golf, right? Like
Yeah.
within I want to say like within a few rounds, like my first initial rounds, like people are like, all right, we're gonna play doubles. I was like, what? Like, yeah, we're playing doubles. Like that's like not really a thing in other sports I've played, but it's such a disc golf thing that I feel like we are missing out on not utilizing that as an actual format in some capacity outside of the All-Star event and stuff. And it would be cool too, I think, for fans to see who teams up with who, right? Like if we get to pick our partners, I think that would be kind of a cool thing too, to see like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know those two people talked. And
Yeah.
like their partner, like, I don't know. All right. With the Tour Championship announcement updates, they also came up with a new award, which I'm going to go ahead and say I think Simon created, like, forced the Pro Tour's hand at making this award, because it didn't feel like Simon was the most improved player last year, because like everyone knows he's like really good at disc golf. So comeback player of the year, new award. I love this award. So that will be coming to players that have returned from injury, had like a really big year after otherwise not doing so well, or maybe someone that has taken some time away from the game and has come back to dominate. So I'm a huge fan of that. They're going to have the player of the year again, the rookie of the year. Then they'll have first card all-stars, second and third card all-stars. They'll still have the most improved. And the rookie of the year will also not be eligible for most improved, which obviously makes sense. With the voting, it looks like the player of the year, I don't really actually know how the voting works. What are your guys' thoughts on these end of the year awards? Do you value them at all? Like, if you won player of the year, like, are you like hanging that trophy up in your mantle and super proud of it, or like where are these awards right now in the disc golf scope of things?
Unfortunately, I feel like awards in disc golf in general right now are pretty broken. I've seen some, and I won't say which one they are, but
I mean, you can.
I've seen some player of the year awards being awarded to people who definitely were not player of the year at all.
I think that's been kind of common the past few years.
Exactly.
If you look at, are you talking about the Player of the Year award awarded by the PDGA?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, the disc golf pro tour one's kind of funky too sometimes.
Yeah, I haven't paid too much attention to those, but
The PGA one's really bad.
I know the PDGA one isn't always great because it brings in so many other factors, because they kind of count anything that's sanctioned as going into a lot of their point things. And like in the end, I know like lower tier events, at least in my mind, like they should have no impact on how that award goes. But like I sit there and I go, if I go play a bunch of B and C tiers, win them all, I'm going to up my win percentage and number of wins, and I'm going to get more of those bonus points that go into that award. And I know they did like a little bit of updating to that a few years ago, I want to say the PDGA did, but I mean, I want to say like even last year I saw that it still didn't make sense who won, but because I want to say like didn't Paige win Player of the Year on the FPO side last year?
Paige beat out Kristen last year, which was wrong, and then the year before that, Kat beat out Paige, which was wrong as well on the PDGA
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, I guess we know what their scoring criteria is beforehand, but
So, yeah,
even
it's not
knowing that,
necessarily wrong, but
yeah, like those people earned it based on the criteria, but it doesn't feel right based on how they perform, against each other at the biggest events throughout the year.
Who won
But, like,
Player of
what-
the Year for MPO last year?
Ricky,
PDGA. Ricky.
Probably.
I
Okay.
believe so. Yeah. But okay, so obviously they do need they obviously need to, and I don't know exactly what the Disc Golf Pro Tour one is. It is kind of wild to me to think that the person that doesn't win doesn't have like the most points at the end of the year. How is that person not the player of the year? Since like you're pushing the tour championship in points, it seems like that would just go straight to the player of the year. But I think they are adding in media votes as well. I don't know if I think fan votes might be going to like rookie of the year. And, maybe some of the people listening to this can kind of fact check us on all that. But it still feels like if they were able to give the award out, I mean, how do you make that like more? I don't know. I'm trying to equate it to like other sports. What's that?
A lot of time is what it is. It's going to take a lot of time, generational, like people winning these things and kids growing up being like, oh, I want that. And it's going to take the players to care about it. And we don't care about it because it hasn't been around a long time. Like, honestly, I'd rather win something from the PDGA right now than I would the Elite Series as far as an award goes. There's more meaning behind it because of the people who won it before, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to equate it to like other sports as well, and it's like you look at like the MVP in basketball or the MVP in the NFL and the Heisman in college football. There's just like these awards that are so coveted and matter so much. Does that exist? Is that ever going to exist in disc golf when you have like the world championship being the end all be all? Does the player and even the tour championship at this point, right? Because you could theoretically, I think the award will go out before the tour championship ends, I believe. So you could theoretically have someone win the tour championship and not be the player of the year.
Yeah.
I don't know how you fix that. I don't know if you need to fix it.
Well, are there really awards like that in any other individual sports? Like, do they really do that in golf? Do they do that in tennis?
I can't think of it. Tennis, same thing. I can't really think of
Player
it.
of the Year and Rookie of the Year in golf.
They have player of the year in golf?
Yes.
It's definitely not something that's talked about, I guess. And so maybe that's it. Maybe it's just
What was it? Connor? Corey Connors?
I couldn't.
And then the Player of the Year was Scotty Scheffler, I believe.
Couldn't tell you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know. I think as far as individual sports go, like I think really, the awards everyone's chasing are just like the wins,
The
like the
majors and the
accolades
Elite
you're chasing
Series, yeah.
is the actual title of the events. So I don't know. I mean,
you
I
can't
think
tell me that winning Player of the Year wouldn't mean a lot to you,
it would be cool for sure.
right?
I think,
Like having that one to be able to put on your mantle, Player of the
Calvin's
Year,
reaction right there is the perfect thing. He just said it would be cool. I think if you asked him,
like, would I rather win?
what would your feeling of winning the world title? There's no way it'd be like it would be cool.
Like,
Right?
yeah, I mean,
Like
you can tell that to LeBron too on the MVP. Would you rather have an MVP or a world championship? It's going to be the same answer. There's still merit.
yeah,
to
but the
putting-
MVP still matters though. That's like the fact that we didn't even know who won Player of the Year last year lets you know.
Well, it's because, like I said, it's broken right now. I feel like the system is broken.
Yeah, and I guess it's hard to want to strive to really push for something that you don't quite understand, or like you don't feel like really awards player of the year to the right player.
Sure. Absolutely.
But I guess it's also kind of weird that we have the Pro Tour award. Are they different awards? Is the Pro Tour player of the year
Yes.
different than? Yeah, that's kind of weird too. Like you can't have two player of the years. Like that doesn't.
Exactly.
Like
No,
what
you
happens
definitely
when those are
can't.
different people? Were those different people on either of those last
I
year?
think in some years it has been, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. I think we gotta pick one and go with it, and then throw the other one to the can. So
Yeah, agreed.
I don't mind having like 7 different world rankings though. I think that's fun. I love rankings.
yeah, I
The
mean
more
that's fine.
rankings, the better.
Everyone's going to have a slightly different way of formulating their algorithm for what means more than other things, and I think we can already see that like everyone kind of has a slightly different algorithm, whether it's the PDGA or whether it's UDisc or whoever else does it. But
Do you know what your world ranking is right now, Kevin, after Vegas for UDisc?
UDisc, I don't. I know.
You
I
wanna
know
take- you
the
wanna take a
PDGA
guess?
page says 3 right now, but UDisc.
Any guesses?
I would say I'm definitely behind Paul and Rick, and then I feel like I would be close between like me and Gannon, maybe.
So you passed Gannon. Gannon dropped a spot and you went up a spot. However, with the UDisc rankings, the way they have it set up right now is like if you don't play, like that's kind of more beneficial than playing bad and playing. So Eagle is still ahead of you at 3.
Okay, well that's lame, but um, I guess he won European Open last year. I mean that's cool.
Yeah, he
But-
played like 2 events last year and won one of them, so like he kind of gets
Yeah.
launched up there. But there you have it. All right. Funny story about the European Open. Did you guys know it's a qualifier now? You have to qualify to get into the European Open. You can't just sign up.
Didn't
I did know that because I got an email telling me to sign up.
Oh,
Well,
must be nice, Calvin. Guess how I figured that out? I got an email too that says, "Hey, we refunded your money because you're not in the tournament." And so I signed up, and yeah, I thought I could just sign up. Did not know you have to qualify.
Where do you qualify?
There's like events now, just like USDGC. There's specific events throughout the season that you have to get top 4 at those events to qualify into the European Open.
Okay.
are they more Europe centric?
There
Yeah.
are way more European Open, or sorry, there are way more European events to qualify you in than USDGC. Yes. So that's a thing now. Did not even see like an announcement or anything about that. Just got a really interesting email that just refunded my money and was like, "You're not in this tournament, bro."
Isn't it funny that like the European Open has qualifiers to get in? The USC
Worlds doesn't.
and the World Championships are our end all be all tournament. It's like if you got
They want that
42
money.
points, you're in, dude.
They want that money. They want 1,000 people to sign up, baby. Let's get them all in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I will be trying my hardest now to not only qualify for USDGC this year, but also qualifying for the European Open. So keep tabs on that, folks. All right, last thing we got before my favorite segment. Natalie Ryan has officially sued the PDGA and the Disc Golf Pro Tour and is also specifically attacking the OTB Open.
Yes. Those are all facts.
Yeah.
I honestly, not gonna lie, I did not know if she was gonna show up for LVC. I would not have been surprised if just to be like, what are you gonna do? I'm here. I'm playing. That didn't happen, but that did run across my mind. The lawsuits, I mean, I'm not going to get too much in the lawyer situation, but I will say with the OTB one, that one's very interesting. Calvin, we were kind of talking about this before the show started, of where there is the reason why she's going after like OTB is there is some weird California law that
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, Cal, if you want to touch on it a little bit, because you probably know a little bit more than I do on it.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot. I saw a video about it on YouTube. I forgot who even was talking about it, but I think there's some kind of civil law preventing discrimination based on, like, you just can't discriminate based on sex or gender. I don't remember exactly how it's worded, but it's there is some law in California that I think Natalie and her team are specifically citing, um, and they're basically saying that OTB is discriminating against her. So or that event. So that's the reason why I think she's going after that event on the Pro Tour. And then I'm not exactly sure with the PDGA, but I'm gonna guess there's something, in there about, like, I think there's something in there about the rules they changed targeting her, and she may have something, a case there, seeing as, like, they really only changed the event, like, criteria for elite series and majors, and they're like,
That was their biggest misstep.
and you
That
can,
was I don't know who thought about that, or that got overlooked, because I felt like when I heard that they were basically saying you can't play in these events, but at these events, yeah, we don't care at all. Because I believe Natalie is actually playing in the Memorial this weekend.
okay,
I think that's wild.
yeah,
And I think that's a mistake.
That's exactly what discriminating is.
yeah. I mean,
Like, literally, like, you can
Like, if it's
play in
unfair, if you're claiming it's unfair, it should be unfair across the board.
across the
For sure.
board, 100%. Yeah.
yeah. I think she definitely has something to argue on, that, like, the rules are obviously put in place to basically target her. I mean, there really aren't that many transgender athletes that were competing on the Pro Tour, and she was the most successful of all of them. I think she got 2 wins last year. I think at OTB, I think she won, or no, she didn't win at OTB. She came close.
She
at
won
OTB.
MVP and she won
D-Glow. She won D-Glow.
D-Glow. Yep.
Yeah, and I know she was in it at OTB as well. I remember watching.
There were several other tournaments that, yeah, she was definitely in contention for sure. It was one of those situations too, of where, had she not gone and won, I don't know if this gets brought up. It was one of those where I feel like by her winning, it kind of forced the hand of the PDGA and the Disc Golf Pro Tour to make a decision. Then if she was missing cash and stuff, then it kind of can go under the rug a little bit. But, like, who would have thought 2 big high-level lawsuits going on in disc golf right now? Have we made it?
We made it somewhere.
Is this what it feels like?
I think these are growing pains.
They're both not good in the sense of, like, how can you have a good lawsuit? I guess if disc golf was, like, suing someone else, that's a good lawsuit, right? Like, if some disc golf company was like, hey, we're going after this plastic company because they blah, blah, blah. If it was outside, but, like, 2 people suing each other inside of disc golf, probably not a good thing. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens on that. It'll be interesting to kind of see too, like, because I believe she filed for, like, damages and stuff with the PDGA as well. And so if, like, she wins that case, like, is that money just coming out of, like, membership fees, right? Like,
yeah, it would have to. Like, that's how the PDGA makes their money: membership fees, and memberships, and then the fees they collect off of you entering their sanctioned events. So,
and the other thing to think about too is, like, you hear all the time, we want tournaments on the West Coast. We want more tournaments. And I mean, how crazy would it be if the Disc Golf Pro Tour is just like, all right, we're not going to have the OTB Open in California anymore. We're just going to move it.
The video that I saw kind of mentioned that would kind of,
that would be
like,
that would be awful
bringing in, and that she has a great case to actually be able, because part of the thing that she's suing is to be able to play the OTB Open, not only against the OTB Open, but being like, no, I want to play in that specific event. And then the video that I saw, he said it was very likely that she'd be playing that tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, we probably watched the same video because I feel like I remember hearing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think she has a decently strong case in that one. And yeah, well, that was one of the solutions, was just moving the OTB Open to a different state if the Pro Tour did not want to, continue with that event or let her play. That they could basically negate the lawsuit by moving the event.
Wild. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. My favorite segment, I think everyone's favorite segment, pet peeves. So Calvin, how this works essentially is we just talk about our biggest pet peeves in disc golf, and that can be anything playing wise that you see when you're playing, watching disc golf, going out with your buddies, stuff that they do. I can give you an example. Pet peeve of mine is this is a little tree huggy of Brody right now. I'm going to go into my tree hugging mode. I'm not a huge fan of like the vandalism side of disc golf sometimes, of where like you'll see stickers or people like writing their name and stuff that they aced on a basket, and it can kind of just get, I get it, like you aced or you want to throw a sticker up or whatever, but like at a certain point it kind of just like looks a little trashy, or at a certain point you are kind of vandalizing the course in a way. I will say I do like the disc charger. I think that is a cool thing on benches. So I will say I am a fan of disc chargers on courses, but I don't like people signing that they aced a hole by signing the basket, like the band. If you need some time to think, me and Yuli we got a lot, so we can just keep going. If you need some time, Calvin.
With new ones every week. So
yeah.
My new one was from this last weekend, dude. This drives me nuts. If you're like, get a bad break on the course and you go to your card mate and you're venting a little bit and they give you the cold shoulder.
Which one's your pet peeve? Are you the venter? Are you upset that they gave you the cold shoulder, or are you the cold shoulder guy and upset that they're venting to you?
I mean, it's probably both of our pet peeves, but in that moment I was venting and being like, dude, I get so unlucky, and then be like, I'm like,
oh, you want them to console and be like, bro, I can't believe it. You're like, this is the most unlucky I've ever seen.
Yeah, or
this
you
is
catch
unreal.
a bad break and you're looking for somebody to be like, hey, have my back. That was a bad break, right? And then they're like, no, it wasn't really a bad break. It was a little low. You're like,
I mean, I guess kind of maybe on the opposite end. I think one of my pet peeves are people that are like overly positive on your card when they tell you like good run or nice bid, and you just like airballed a 30-footer, or like you hit like 2 chains on the left side, and like, I mean, I know their intentions are good, but to me, I don't know.
no.
Like people being overly positive in a moment that like I just really hate what I did. I hate it.
I got another one. I will say it's when pros aren't able to just say that they played bad, right? It kind of goes a little bit with Yuli a little bit, but I can see like when you're in the moment, when something just happens like that, I can see you kind of have that reaction. But we should all be able to, after a round, like sit back and be like, yeah, I just threw a bad upshot there. That wasn't a good putt. Kind of messed up, bad disc selection. But I don't it's tough when I see people posting on social media being like, I had 7 bad breaks today. I am the most unlucky player in the world, and I there's nothing I could do.
Yeah, take
like
some accountability.
I played unreal, and I got so unlucky, and I shot 4 over today. But I played incredible. Like, I think just being able to sit back and be like, yeah, I kind of messed that up, or I could have done better there. That's a pet peeve of mine.
That's so weird, because I think my number one rule when I play, that I tell myself, is it's never my fault.
See, that's a good mindset though. If you're playing and you're always thinking like if you throw a bad shot or something, it's because of the wind changed or something. That could be a good mindset when you're
It's not.
playing.
It's more of a joke. I don't really feel that way, but I definitely I do say it every once in a while. Just because I do feel like there are quite a few disc golfers that feel that way, that nothing's ever really on them, and I think it is funny. I'm definitely in your camp, Brody, on that one. But
I would even say the flip side, I'm on the same side of where like this like 6-time, love or five, it was 5-time last year when Paul like throws a shot and like gets lucky and everyone's like, oh my God, he's the luckiest player. I think I'm on the same side there of like, if you're really freaking good, you're going to look luckier than someone that's bad, because the amount of bad shots a bad player has, there's way more chances of like that just ending up poorly than if you're really good and you only have a couple bad shots and one of them you catch a good break, you're going to look like a lucky player. I just don't see there's like, I'm lucky or I'm unlucky. Both sides of the aisle, I don't believe it. I think everything kind of evens itself out as far as getting breaks and not getting breaks.
I mean,
you just might get way worse breaks because you're putting yourself in that position way more times.
We saw AB hit the rangefinder guy, very next hole, hits a rock and stays in. Kind of evened out right there.
yeah,
Pretty much. I mean, I don't know how that disc did not stay in bounds. Oh, here's a Jomez coverage pet peeve. Ready for this one? Pet peeve when they cut angles. Big pet peeve. Hate it. When I'm watching a beautiful flight, it's flipping up, it's sick, I get to see the flight, and then all of a sudden they cut to an angle behind, and I've completely lost all sorts of idea of where the disc is, where it's going, where's the basket. Pet peeve. I might be in the minority there.
yeah.
Give us
I don't
one
know.
more good one, Calvin. One more good one. Come on, man.
Man, pet peeves.
What about like a loud eater? Someone that's back there while you're like trying to line up a putt and they're just got that protein bar and they're just crunching like.
Man, I mean that would be annoying. That'd be tough. But I know there are
Someone
things that
asking
get me
what
worked
disc you
up. It's
threw?
just now that I'm on the spot, I'm having trouble thinking about.
If I asked you what disc you threw, what disc was that, man?
That doesn't
Right after
really
you
bother
threw,
me.
doesn't bother you? Okay.
What if it's a bad shot?
I think just about anything would bother me at that point, though. It's like
I was just- this might be-
start asking me questions about my shot. Like,
There's your pet peeve when people talk to me after I throw a bad shot. Found one.
okay.
I was gonna say, Yuli, Calvin this might be our hardest guess with pet peeves because he's just unflappable. You just can't get
That's
under his
not
skin.
true. Definitely not true, but I don't know. I just feel like I'm blanking now that I'm on the spot here.
If you have any, please let me know, because if me and you, for some odd reason, are in this weird dream world where we're in contention at the end, I'm definitely pulling out your pet peeves.
I'm
multiple
definitely
times.
pulling out my phone and playing Jomez coverage. And like, oh, look at this shot. Look at they flipped the angle.
No, why you flip the angle? All right, last one I have. Are you are you on the tee box of hole 18? Hey, great playing with you guys. Knuckles, yeah, awesome round. Or are you post tapping out on hole 18? Hat off, pleasure playing with you. What side of the camp are you on?
I feel like it's a real disc golf thing doing the knuckle bump before the 18th tee shot. I feel like that's just how it's always been. So I guess that's kind of where I am, just having played disc golf for a long time. But I do like the whole handshake afterwards. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's like basically showing respect to your competitors, and it probably makes more sense than the knuckle bumps, but I think I'm just gonna have to go with tradition here because the knuckle bump on the tee box is just how I grew up.
Did you knuckle bump with Kevin before 18?
Yeah.
Any words or just good playing with you? Kind of just kept it quick and
Yeah, I mean, it was quick.
Watch that headwind out there, Kev.
No, I think in those situations it is a little strange because I mean, yes, I am playing the course, but at that point, like I am kind of playing Kevin heads up. So it is a little strange, you know, when you're like pretty locked in and kind of hyper focused on being one person to really acknowledge them in any kind of like positive way, I guess.
Yep.
Because internally, like as a competitor, you're like, this is the last thing standing between me and what I want. But it's not very often that I feel like I'm sitting there within one stroke going into the last hole, you know? So it's not that uncomfortable that many times.
Yuli, is it true? I've heard stories of like some of the older players, like really, like some of the older. I mean, they're older players now, but back when they're in their primes and stuff, they would play like mind games and stuff.
Oh yeah.
That was pretty. I don't feel like I haven't really encountered that much on the pro tour. It feels like everyone's pretty nice to one another, but it sounded like back in the day, like there were some serious mind games going on between one another to the point of like what you just said of like, hey, good playing with you, but hate for you to throw OB on this hole. That would really suck. Something like that right before you're about to go
That was
on
a
the
part of
tee.
game for sure. That's how I grew up with playing. Is like the people I grew up playing with were just the biggest crap talkers you ever seen in your life. Like, and then when I started playing with Dan Ginley, who's Hall of Fame player, so this guy never stopped talking ever. And I remember stories of people being like, yeah, before I had a putt to win, and he asked me if I breathed in or out when I putted. And I'm like,
What?
like, before you putt, do you breathe in and out? Like, hey, good playing with you.
I'd be like, crap, do I breathe in and out? That's all I would be thinking on the next putt is like, am I supposed to breathe in or am I supposed to breathe out right now?
Yeah, so like there was definitely that was definitely a part of the game. And I got some pieces. Dude, I played this guy, I won't say his name, but I remember airballing a putt from 25 feet to beat this guy, and he looked at me and said, "Thank you." And I lost, bro. I lost in the playoff. Like we went to another hole and it was brutal. But
Oh man.
yeah, it was pretty bad back then, for sure.
But I mean, think about it from his perspective. He probably was praying for you to miss that 25 footer. He felt like his prayers were answered.
Oh yeah.
He was truly thankful in that moment.
He did. He looked at me and he said, "Thank you." And I was like, "What?"
I honestly wouldn't mind having a little sprinkle of that on the pro tour every once in a while. I could see it get a little annoying if it was consistently, but like a little sprinkle, just see some people squirm, make it a little change, a little dance. But all right, I think that's going to wrap it up though. Calvin, you've been great. Awesome. Really looking forward to seeing what you do throughout this season. Honestly, I think just being able to, because we've played a lot of practice rounds together over the last few years, and being able to just kind of watch your game progress into the point of where now it's like, every single tournament you are one of the favorites to win has been awesome. And also just want to say thanks for all the tips. I definitely threw a lot of low shots into the ground this past weekend that saved me a lot of strokes. So I always am thankful for whenever you help me out with that. And we got Waco. Are you just going to be chilling in Florida leading up to Waco? You're taking the week off?
Yeah, this week I have off. I think I'll probably start heading up there, in a couple of days. Hopefully get to Waco. I think I'm probably just going to, drive to Pensacola, spend a couple of days up there, see some friends, and then drive out to Waco maybe Sunday or Monday, and then have that week to practice for Waco. I don't know if there's any course changes, but there really hasn't been many in the past, so
probably not too much.
Should be a pretty easy one to practice for. I think that one's kind of a pretty crazy tournament where anyone can win that tournament.
Yes.
Like I feel like it's one of the shorter courses, especially relative to par that we play throughout the year. So I don't really think distance is too much of a factor, and I think the shots that are required in those woods are pretty executable by everybody in the field. So it's just who's going to do it that week, which I think probably makes it pretty dang exciting for the viewers to watch. I think there's almost always some new faces on the screen for that one. And yeah, I never really know where I'm going to place in that one. It could be top
you
five,
can-
it could be 35th. I have no clue. But
I love that course too, because like you could have like a 4-shot lead going into the woods, and then coming out of the woods, you've like are down 4, and you're just
Yeah.
like, what just happened? What just happened? I also heard a little birdie. Let me know if this is true. A little birdie says that you might have some interest in joining my Airbnb squad that we have over here. Is that accurate, or is that just rumor?
it was offered to me. This birdie is a pretty big birdie if it's the same bird I'm thinking. But yeah, no, it's possible at some point. I don't really know. I'm super behind on really lodging plans a lot of places right now. So
Well, you're welcome anytime. So just send me the text. Let me know that you need a place, and we will gladly boost up to a nice 4-bedroom massive house to a 5-bedroom mansion. If you're down. So
all right, yeah, I'll definitely keep you in the loop on that.
Yuli, you got anything else to wrap up? You're chilling. You're gonna win Memorial this weekend. Is that the plan?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, probably.
Okay. Just
be
go out,
pretty-
shoot like a smooth 16 under at Fountain Hills. Be
Yeah,
down
average
4.
20, like you have to win here, and then
You do.
that'll boost my rating back up. Maybe I'll be able to sign up for a couple majors here soon. That'd be good.
Over under 2.5 disc lost this weekend or this week for you in the water.
I won't lose any. I usually don't lose any here.
Okay.
Dang, that's impressive.
That is impressive.
I
For
played
me,
here a lot.
it's
Maybe-
over. For me,
maybe
it's over.
one. Maybe one. Like I played
Okay.
2 practice rounds. I haven't lost anything. Today was really windy and I didn't practice that much. But I played Fountain, and Fountain went pretty smooth. It's those little island holes are the ones that you might lose one. You know, like the little
yeah.
juicy one. Like those
Yeah, the
will
little
get in.
200 footer where the green is 10 feet
That's
wide.
really
Yes,
the only
those.
one.
Yeah, those are the ones for sure.
Yeah, those
All right.
ones always make you pucker.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for Tour Life, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you for everyone that tuned in live with us. We go live at 8 p.m. Eastern Wednesday nights. You can also catch the audio version on Apple, on Spotify, your favorite podcast forms. Make sure you follow Calvin as well. Calvin, you post mostly on Instagram, right? You're not the biggest tweeter in the world.
I don't really do the tweeter, but
The
you know,
Twitter, yeah, the tweet.
maybe maybe I will at some point. It
Well,
sounds
once I
like-
start blowing you up with
Yeah,
all these
yeah.
with all these volunteers getting hit by discs, you're gonna have to respond. People are going
Exactly.
to.
I'm gonna have to
you know,
say something. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to take the volunteers' backs while you're just out here bashing volunteers.
I
I'm
hate
gonna play a
volunteers.
good game.
I think volunteers are the worst people in disc golf.
Oh boy.
There's your soundbite.
Oh God!
But make sure you tune in to what Calvin's doing over on his Instagram, and make sure you guys pay attention to Disc Golf Network. Next week we're going to be in Waco, Texas, where, like Calvin was saying, anything can happen. Until then, we'll see you next time. Later.
Later, guys.
Later.
All right, Yuli.